Hello! I was wondering if I might trouble you for a cup of strong black coffee, and in the process engage you with an anecdote of no small amusement.
Welcome!
Oh, we're starting. Welcome! Hello! Totally expected you to be there.
Hi!
We're Nerd Herder. This is NerdyVerse.
I've been told.
This is the series where we talk about everything not Star Wars because we like other things.
I have in front of me not Star Wars.
Suck it. Suck on this knowledge, this nerdable knowledge.
This knowledge.
Yeah, if you've been following along, we've talked about a couple of things. You talked about some Ninja Turtles.
I did talk about some Ninja Turtles.
I talked about some Halo.
Oh boy, did you talk about some Halo.
So much. So we need a break, Megan.
Yeah.
The people, the ears, they've stopped bleeding. They need a break. And so I put them in your Hyrulean care.
In my Hylian care.
Hylian? I thought it was Hyrulean.
No.
It's Hyrule, though, right?
Hylian. Well, yes, it's Hyrule, but the race is Hylian. Or Hylian. Depends on how you pronounce it.
Interesting.
I
okay.
also have visual aids for this.
In your elf hands.
In my elven hands. There they are. Right back there. There's
yeah,
like...
to medicate the people back to interest and to health. To vitality. Give them stamina, if you will. Have them suck on some Korok seeds and whatnot. Anyway.
That's not what those are for.
No, they're excrement, actually. So. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking about Legend of Zelda.
Yeah.
Well, you're talking about Legend of Zelda.
I have in my lap a very large book.
The Zelda Bible, essentially.
Well, one of them. There are 3 different books.
Mm-hmm.
My main source for this series...
Is your brain.
Is my brain. But most of my research came from, number 1, Hyrule Historia, which is a book that was published by Nintendo.
Zelda Bible.
It is, well, published by Dark Horse. Nintendo commissioned it, that kind of thing.
Still a Zelda Bible.
Yeah, there's also an art book. There's also a Hyrule Encyclopedia, which I don't have.
The NIV of Zelda Bibles, if you will. This is like the
message.
This is the KJV of Zelda Bibles that we're working with. Yeah. Correct.
And I also used the Bible app of the Zelda.
Right, YouVersion.
Which is Zelda Dungeon.
Oh, okay.
Which is a very comprehensive wiki for Zelda. I recommend it if you are having trouble playing any of the games.
I like to comprehend my zivs.
Yes.
I'm not in charge this week, so it's going to be interesting.
It is going to be interesting. Is this what it's like dealing with me?
No.
Okay.
I imagine, it is better. I just don't know what to do with myself when I don't have the information. I mean,
here's the thing: is I'm going to talk to you about the information. We're going to have a conversation. That's how this works.
Exactly. So, on the main show we did something weird, and that was even still not very much like it wasn't dependent on me search. It was kind of in our brains because we loved the story that we talked about. Hopefully, you checked it out.
Yeah.
I'm tagged out on this. This is interesting. This is weird.
How does it feel?
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's dissociative. I mean, we work together on so much, and then we carry together so much on so many other like Star Wars topics and whatnot. And maybe it's just coming off of Halo, where it was just very, here, let me dump on you. Now I feel like I'm on your side. And,
let me dump on you, John.
Yeah, and in that regard, I'm highly interested because I know you're going to talk about some things that I kind of know, but maybe not as in-depth. I'm getting educated as much as everybody else, I feel like, but because I'm married to you, I feel like I do have some of it out there. Between you and Aaron Hansen as my sources of Zelda-ness, I'm pretty good.
Please don't use him as your source of Zelda-ness.
Spoonbles.
Which he is very knowledgeable about the Zelda series.
The games,
yeah. But he does have a lot of anger to deal with.
Well, I mean, everybody kind of does.
It's understandable. Let me give you some background.
Sure.
About
so you're renting this space for 2 episodes.
I am indeed.
Yes. What are we doing?
The first episode is going to be a purely lore deep dive. This one is going to be, I'm going to talk at you about the lore.
Yep.
and the background of the games that here's the thing, is most of the story of Zelda is not in the games. Most of the story comes from, number one, the manuals that come with the game cartridges.
Oh yeah, we were talking about this recently.
Yeah.
Go figure, so does Halo. We just talked about it.
Yeah. For all of our young listeners out here.
Oh my gosh, I should post it, because I just thought back to that conversation. And I was like, I still have my I have my first Halo manual.
I
from
have
the
my
first game. Wow.
Yeah, I have my Zelda cartridge back there. It's the gold cartridge.
That manual is arguably what made me interested in exploring Halo. I played the games, I was not good at it, and then I realized there was stuff, and I think I wanted to learn that stuff, but the games didn't help. The games did not help.
That's the thing, is I loved Zelda before I knew the lore. Like, I grew up playing, we had the Super Nintendo that we got for Christmas one year. Mm-hmm. And with that came Link to the Past. So that was the first Zelda game that I played. The first Zelda game that I completed was Twilight Princess, though. Now it's all the way to, the GameCube.
Now, how are you, and I mean, I want to be sensitive to time, but I'm going to have questions, because I have nothing else.
That's the plan.
So hopefully we can get through everything, but how are you with Zelda games? Because I know with my favorite game franchise, I'm highly competitively driven to 100% those. Like, I love these games, therefore I have to have everything. I have to have bought everything, leveled up everything. The Zelda games don't have, like, achievements or anything. Like, they have hidden rooms and dungeons and stuff.
There is absolutely a way to 100% the Zelda games.
Okay.
Personally, I love exploring. Mm-hmm. Like, I believe it was Masahiro Sakurai who created Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. I might be wrong here. It might have been Shigeru Miyamoto. I don't remember off the top of my head. I probably should have looked that up before I started this. Mm-hmm. But one of them said, no, Sakurai was Kirby. I think it was Shigeru Miyamoto who did Legend of Zelda.
Miyamoto sounds familiar.
Yeah. So Miyamoto said that the inspiration of Legend of Zelda was, as a kid in Japan, go ahead and Google. He used to go and walk along the beach, and he would go into caves and explore and stuff like that. And so he wanted to instill that sense of adventure into the game of, I could go into this cave and I could find a man with a sword, and he's gonna say, "It's dangerous to go alone, take this." Mm-hmm. And then there's a whole song about that from Starbomb, which I don't recommend listening to.
I love that meme of it, but it's the Bible.
Here's the thing, John. What's his name?
Who?
The man in the cave.
He has a name?
Yes. I say this so many times. I'm honestly surprised that you don't remember it.
What, say his name?
Yeah.
No.
I make reference to him constantly. Sahasrara.
Oh, I don't remember it off of that. Is that Zelda's daddy?
I'll get to that.
Not like daddy, but like daddy. I will get
to that. Trust me. Okay. We'll get there if we ever get out of this intro.
Because I know in Breath of the Wild he's made to be this... No,
Sahasrara is the wizard.
Gotcha.
Sahasrala has always
Is he just in that game? Or is he like every other character that shows up all the time?
There's a reason for that.
Well, for him, it makes sense because he's a wizard, but literally everybody else also shows up. Anyway, it was Miyamoto.
Thank you.
But also Takashi Tezuka. Mm-hmm. Apparently the original creators of the first game. I'm sure they share certain capacities.
Yeah.
But I think Miyamoto is definitely very story driven. He was like with Nintendo. Yeah. So he wasn't just Zelda only.
Yeah, and to answer your question, no. I don't feel the need to complete...
Oh, you already answered that, but I appreciate you coming back.
Sorry. I have always been one that I don't feel the need to complete every single game. Like, I will play through to the last boss, or with the Breath of the Wild. Mm-hmm. I'll play up into that point, and then just run around collecting Korok seeds and having fun.
I'll have to explore it when I eventually talk about Ratchet and Clank.
Yes.
Because Ratchet and Clank is my Legend of Zelda. Mm-hmm. I don't want to overtake, but I have lots of thoughtful reasoning behind my stuff.
you know those games so well.
Yeah, and I think it's, to surmise, because again, that's what I was moving away from, but to surmise, I think part of it just becomes, because I know the story so well, that I like love every nook and cranny. Like, you know how God on the last day rested and looked at everything, and it's this idea, like in my mind, I'm like, he sat back in his lazy boy, looked at it, and was just like, dang.
I did that.
Wow.
I got that gold bolt.
By playing the games, I have that lazy boy moment of, wow. Like I'm I know what's about to happen exactly at this moment when I go around this. I know how many enemies are there. I know what they're gonna do, but it's like,
yeah,
when it does what I know it's gonna do, I'm like, wow.
And
it's like I'm trying to think. There's something like it where it's like, I know exactly what it's gonna do, but I'm just happy that it does it every time. Like, it's almost like I expect it's not going to do it for once, but then it does it, and I'm like, oh, man, such a good boy. Like, golly.
Yeah,
Anyway.
We're going to talk at some point about nostalgia and nostalgia goggles.
Sure.
I genuinely believe that I don't have nostalgia goggles for these games, but that's just because you don't really notice nostalgia goggles when you're wearing them.
Sure.
It's
nostalgia
one of those,
berries.
Yeah, being married to you and watching you play games and watching you play the 2 Zelda games that you have played specifically have in the past made me take a step back and look at it and be like, wait a minute. So I think it's pretty fair to say that Nintendo makes games for Nintendo players.
Sure.
We've had this conversation before, just you and me, not on camera or microphone or whatever. But I think that's pretty understood among, Nintendo players. Because, like, not everyone can play Smash Bros. Like the world's best player.
Yeah, they have exclusively made it to where, if you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to learn, you'll learn. But, even the mapping of their controls is counter
it's
to
completely
everything
different.
else. Whereas if you go from Xbox to PlayStation, you're generally going to have your X or your bottom one's jump.
Yeah. Oh,
it's going to be that.
I have video game crack hands. That is specifically from playing QuickTime events on Nintendo games.
Yeah, so even the mapping of the controls is counter to every other console. It's Nintendo.
And this isn't at all a negative or a criticism of Nintendo as a company. Like, every video game company has this.
They have it in their way.
Yeah, is honestly to probably a more degree.
Yeah, I would say Nintendo's the one that's branded it. Like they've made it a thing.
That's Nintendo polish.
To be good at Nintendo is a thing. Versus other ones where it's like, well, we do it this way, or we do it that way.
A lot of games are accessible. I think starting from a young age, I think I've been trained in the ways of the Nintendo.
Well, that's where it starts.
Yeah, that was something that we talked about when we were playing Breath of the Wild and Link's Awakening later. Was like, it got to a point where you were doing things and I was watching over your shoulder like, well, obviously you have to do this. Like, you don't have the power armor
There's
yet.
actually not a lot that's obvious, though.
Yeah, and I
From
get
the
that.
outside in, there's not a lot.
But
it's really hard.
As someone who's played through the games before and like, oh yeah, you don't have the power bracelet yet. Of course you're not going to be able to pick up those rocks.
Nobody told me that.
I know, and I forgot to tell you that. And I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, you're fine. I mean, I don't hold my hate of certain stuff to you.
Yeah.
Like, if anything, I wanted to like it. That's what's more frustrating about it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's ways around it, but it's a high hill to climb. At least for me.
It takes years of training.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I'm one of those, like, you've got to give me enough reward for risk.
Yeah, because you did not have a good time playing Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, and I just didn't feel like, I got to a point where I just felt like I wasn't getting enough reward to keep going. Like, there wasn't enough to enjoy to make suffering worth it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm just sitting back in the chair being like, it's The Legend of Zelda.
Right.
It's so
you're
big.
Appreciating everything. So.
Yeah, like, I recognize that rock. That spectacle rock. I know where that is. Like.
So,
yeah.
Let's dive in. I feel like I'm gonna have to be the timekeeper. Just because I know you're gonna get into it. So
yes.
So we want to talk about lore and also timeline.
Yes. What do you know about Legend of Zelda lore? Let's get that out of the way.
Well, I mean, non-specific. I mean, since it's not like the timeline, I can't really do orders. But like, in the lore, I know that Link is like a destined hero. Link, Zelda, and Ganon are like the embodiments of the Triforce of Power in a way. In that you've got Power, who is Ganon. You have... Oh my gosh, I just had the other word. It's... I can't remember. But I know he's Power.
Yes, he is Power.
They're each a piece of the Triforce. In essence, they are the Triforce. I view it as. And they're kind of destined to entangle.
They're the Digi-destined, yes.
Yeah, they're like constantly entangled throughout time, and the rest of Hyrule and the world are kind of just purview to that. You got certain characters like Impa's like Zelda's guardian, kind of like you got these reoccurring characters, and it's almost like every game launches towards, okay, we won, but it kind of resets, and then it continues and continues. And Ganon, like, either he's completely corrupted, or he's like himself, like he's kind of like refined, depending on like what games and timeline you're in and everything. But the whole thing is that Ganon's trying to get all the Triforce to rule the world, and Link's trying to get all the Triforce to stop that. And along the way, there's minor characters. Well, really, Ganon gets his power from the... Oh, it's the whack-a-mole thing from Skyward Sword.
The whack-a-mole thing. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember. It's the something or whatever. The Abominable or the whatever.
The Abominable, yes.
Yeah, Zant tries to get the power, but really it escapes from that and goes to Ganon. And that's kind of like what starts everything, right? Okay,
so you know the reference I make all the time of the cat, the Sphinx cat from Adventure Time? I have approximate knowledge of all things.
I do now. I mean, I know you say that. I did not know that's where that came from.
Exactly. You almost hit the nail square on the head. Almost. So, I'm not going to tell you what you're right on, but I'm going to correct you as we go. So, let's start at the very beginning. Mm-hmm. A very good place to start.
A long time ago, the precursors. No, just kidding.
No. So, I have feelings about a certain game in the timeline. The first game in the timeline, which gives you all of the backstory. Skyward Sword. Mm-hmm. I have a note here that says, unfortunately, the most important game from a lore standpoint.
It's not that bad of a game, though. Like, it's a broken game because of the platform they chose. It's
so broken because of motion controls. That is the only thing wrong with it. I just hate playing it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't like playing Skyward
Overall,
Sword.
it's a decent game.
It's decent. It has cool mechanics. Like it's fine.
I recently helped replay that with one of our church kids.
You say helped, but you smashed him on the ground a few times.
See, so I knew enough to know how to be anti-useful to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have notes in two places, by the way. So, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, so at the very beginning
mm-hmm.
was the three goddesses.
That's right.
Exactly.
They're what turned into the Triforce.
We'll get there. So there were at the very beginning there were the three goddesses. There was also the goddess Hylia, and the god Demise, the demon
Demise.
king.
That's the one. The Demise is the one that gives Ganon his evilness and power and all that stuff.
We'll get there.
It escapes the whack-a-mole. I don't know what else to call it. It's a
there.
bad design.
We'll get there.
It just looks like a little sock puppet.
It's a Muppet. So
exactly.
At the very beginning, it is in a time of chaos. Mm-hmm. So basically, the three golden goddesses had a bender, and they were like, you know what? We're gonna create something. We're gonna create land. We're gonna create order, and we're gonna create diverse inhabitants to fill the world. So there were the goddess.
There's always one. Yeah. So whenever there's like this listing off of like these three great things,
and heart.
You've oh no, there's even one. I can't even remember, but there's that one Captain Planet kid that's just useless, and they just needed another one.
Basically,
like they had to get all the colors of the rainbow. Yeah. But anyway, there's always one where it's like interesting. Stretching it a little bit.
So there is Din, the goddess of power. She created the land. There is Nehru, the goddess of wisdom. She created order. And Furore, the goddess of courage, who created the diverse inhabitants.
Link's got courage. That's what it was.
There you go. So they created everything. And then they looked at it and they were like, dope. That's pretty cool. And then they were like, okay, later.
And they were just done.
And they were gone. They went back to the Sacred Realm and left.
It's a cop-out.
Everything with...
I mean, they could have at least gone Norse with it and made, like, make it like their bodies decayed and became what they created, like, or something like that.
Well, that would be cool. But they left everything in the care of the goddess Hylia.
Bad choice.
No.
I mean...
And with Hylia, they left their very last creation, the Triforce. What does the Triforce do, John?
Well, it kind of, like, is a bit of a Deus Ex Machina altogether, but, like, each piece has its thing. So, like, power is power. It's like Infinity Stones in a way, I think, in the way it's explained to me. Because, like, Ganon has the Triforce of power, and when he has that, he's just power. Like, he's just super strong. And, like, Link has the Triforce of courage, which makes him the hero. He's always going to choose to do the right thing and always going to help. You got the Triforce of Wisdom with Zelda, and that she's always going to be the one that knows the right thing to do, but then she calls Link! She always calls on Link to do it, or whatever. Yeah. But, like, it gives you the power of it, but, like, then when you put it all together, it's just, like, infinite power. Like, you can do anything.
Kinda.
Okay.
Yet again, approximate knowledge of all things. So, the Triforce is made up of the 3 golden triangles, the Triforce of Wisdom, the Triforce of Power, and the Triforce of Courage, as you said. So, when the 3 pieces of the Triforce are assembled, they can grant the wishes of the person that touches it, good or evil. It is very clear in the Hyrule Historia that it does not have a sense of moral compass. It will grant the wishes of whoever has it.
Equal opportunity.
Exactly. Very much like the Dragon Balls. If, Garlic Jr. gets the Dragon Balls, he can wish for immortality. Like, he can do whatever he wants with them because he has the Dragon Balls.
They should really put a loophole in there.
There is a loophole.
Oh, for the Triforce?
Yes, there is.
Oh, okay. That's smart. Kira Toriyama, where were you?
As long as the person has a strong heart, innate ability, and a balance of the 3 virtues, courage, power, wisdom, that kind of thing. If the person who touches the Triforce does not have these 3 things, it splits apart and it becomes part of the people who are inhabited by those 3 virtues.
Oh, the Triforce.
The Triforce itself.
I thought you said the person that touches it.
No.
Okay.
The person who touches it doesn't get their wish and they go cry in a corner.
So that's what happens is they get the stuff together, and then Ganon tries to use it and it doesn't work. So then he gets the power, she gets the wisdom, and Link gets the courage.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, even without the Triforce, they still aren't inhabited by those spirits.
Well, because, like, they're chosen to represent that, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah. Isn't there, unless I'm, like, imagining something, but there's a thing where it's, like, insinuated like it's a passed down thing, right? Like,
I'm getting there.
Because Link's not, there's not always the same Link.
We're going to talk about it when I get to the timeline.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry. We're
almost halfway through.
I promise.
We're almost halfway through. We got to save time for the timeline.
We're still in the preliminaries at this point.
Okay.
So,
just keeping us on track.
There are 3 of the most important characters in the entire game. There is the wielder of the Triforce of Wisdom.
Tinkles? I thought he was important.
He's not important.
Oh, okay.
He's not important.
Okay.
He's in this game, but he is not important.
Okay.
How dare you say the name Tingle in my home?
It's Tingle?
It's Tingle.
Oh, okay, I said Tinkles.
You did. Okay.
Anyway.
We're not going to talk about Tingle. So, we might when we get to Ocarina. So, the wielder of the Triforce of Wisdom is, of course, Princess Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Princess
She just
Zelda.
has it?
No.
Oh, okay, right.
We're getting there.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's funny how often you interrupt me when I'm just about to tell you what we're doing. So,
I'm gonna stop now.
In the very first game, in Skyward Sword, it is established that Princess Zelda,
First timeline game.
We're getting to it.
That game, like, well, we said it came out on the Wii.
Yeah, it is the...
So for people's thing, first in the timeline...
No.
Is not the original game.
Not at all.
It's one of the last... The original game's one of the last ones, right?
Yeah.
I love that. It's such a Star Wars thing.
So, in Skyward Sword, it is established that Princess Zelda is not only the wielder of the Triforce of Wisdom, but she is the reincarnation of the goddess Helia.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right. So she keeps kind of... Like, she's constantly existing. Like, she just keeps going.
Exactly. And that is why she is in every single game.
Which...
To be honest, it is a passed down thing. It is a generational name, but there are select Princess Zeldas who do wield the Triforce of Wisdom. It's not every single Zelda who is, Helia in her purest form. Mm-hmm. Just like every generation in Link's family isn't Link. It's another, it's a generational name, but not every single Link is the hero of time or the wielder of the Triforce of Courage. Mm-hmm. I'll get there. So, Princess Zelda in the first game is Helia, basically. It starts off with this whole ceremony of Princess Zelda playing... Why are you so...
I'm just thinking about the song.
Stop it.
I'm just thinking about
United Sky. Yeah,
it's important.
It is important because it gives you the entire backstory and...
Yep. Were you paying attention, Spoomples?
The lead up of the first game is there is a giant war on the ground.
Yes.
So
well, it's Skyward Sword. So
exactly.
we live in the sky,
and
we ride birds that eventually evolve into people, and we don't apologize for it.
No, not yet.
Well,
not that ones. Not those ones. Those are Skylocks.
They turned into Zora, though.
No.
What?
No,
I thought you said they turned into Zora.
Oh, no.
You mean to tell me that
Zora evolved into the Rito.
What are the Rito? The Rito are the bird
Rito
people?
Are the bird people.
What are the Zoras?
The Zora are the fish
They're the
people.
enemy. Wait, what?
I'm gonna explain.
Okay.
I promise. We just gotta get through this. So, Zelda is the reincarnation of the goddess Hylia. Hylia moved the Earth people into the sky because there was a giant war with the Demon King Demise.
Yeet.
I'm gonna get there too.
Satan.
Asmodeus. Demise.
Beelzebub.
And this isn't really clear in any other game other than Skyward Sword because it's a retcon.
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, like they did a thing for a while where they tried to move this story forward, mm-hmm. and then were like, well, eventually we've got to kind of go back, I think, and explain. I mean, they basically did the George Lucas thing of, what if we told how Darth Vader came about
mm-hmm.
and everything? I mean, Ganon wasn't the main reason, but it was a big part of how did we get here? And that's what's really cool about Skyward Sword is how much lore it packs in. That's why I think
so
I do
much
like
lore.
It. Again, it just suffers from how they chose to... And that's what's so crazy is that because it's not a movie and a book that can just come out and tell a story, these stories are dependent on a working game.
And there are also, Legend of Zelda manga, that tell the story of
There's
the
actually a
games.
really beautiful one for this one.
Yeah.
But, it's just so funny to me that, even movies, really, it's just, you can have a great story, and it's done no justice by the movie, and people hate it, and it's like, no, guys, listen, it's good. It's just
you're not paying
bad
attention.
acting, or it's bad, bad controls, it sucks when things are overlooked because of little details like that.
You mean the entirety of the GameCube Zelda games?
Right?
Okay, so next up is the wielder of the Triforce of Power.
Yep.
Which is
Ganondorf.
There is Ganondorf.
Wait, I forget. Ganondorf is the pig.
No.
Ganondorf is the Gerudo.
Ganondorf is the Gerudo form of Ganon, who is the Demon King Demise.
Yes, I got that part right.
Who is the Muppet that you see in Skyward Sword.
So the great evil, Satan...
Is Ganon.
Yeah, he's the reason Ganon is Ganon. Is
mm-hmm.
because... Well, and that's the whole thing, is, he comes from a tribe that's predominantly female.
Mm-hmm.
And,
in Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That is the first time that is established. Is that he is born into a human-ish tribe called the Gerudo.
Yeah. And it's this idea, like, men don't come along often.
Mm-hmm.
And
so when they do...
It's important. And that's what kind of... It's almost like this child of prophecy thing, and then evil overtakes him, essentially.
And you may notice that there are 3 different names for Ganon. And they are all the same person, I promise. But first, he is Demise, the Demon King. That is Muppet Foot that you see in Skyward Sword. He is imprisoned.
That's the solid evil. That's
that is
primordial evil
in his very first form.
Yeah, so like how you have I would put him on the same level as like Hylia and the Great Fairies.
Exactly.
Because it's like this idea of he existed before. He's constantly enduring, like he is just evil. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't necessarily say he's Ganon, but he is what makes Ganon Ganon. So like, you know.
Yeah, he is reborn as Ganon.
Personified dark side. Personified dark side that then chooses to inhabit Darth Vader.
Exactly. And we'll get into this more in the timeline, but there is a very clear moment where Demise is reborn as Ganondorf. Mm-hmm. Ganondorf is the Gerudo form. Ganon is the pig form. Ganon is...
who you fight in the first game.
Exactly.
But he's like mutated.
Yes, and there is a story reason for it that we will get to when we talk about the timeline. I feel like I'm saying that a lot.
I was gonna say we got to move
soon.
Okay.
And you fight many lackeys of Ganondorf and Demise in the games. Can you name any of them?
Oh my gosh, it was in my head before you said something and put me on the spot. Like that's such a
you named
rude move. Like what?
You named one earlier.
Zora?
No.
What?
Zant.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. You're thinking like in terms of specific character. Oh yeah, flamboyant boy Zant. I love Zant. I don't care what anybody says.
I think you're mixing up Zant with Girahim.
No.
Are you sure?
I love both of them. Zant's pretty flamboyant too. Like they either go beefcake with Ganon or they go like ice skater Olympian with the other ones.
Girahim, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Girahim sort of. He's just got the like little billowy.
And he licks Fee, which is not fine.
You've got the little goblin people, bokoblins. You have bokoblins. They're little evil things because of Demise energy, right? See, I thought you were talking about like lackeys, like typical things you encounter through the adventure. I didn't think you were talking about like servants.
I was thinking about like specifically bad guys that you fight throughout, like
Girahim and
bosses.
Zant, that's kind of it.
Yeah, there's Zant, there's Girahim, there's Vati, there's what's his name? He has a very stupid name. I don't remember what his name is.
Tingle.
No. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Tingle was
he looks pretty evil.
Envoy of Ganon. But yeah, he has many lackeys to do his bidding.
Yeah, I mean, like Palpatine has his people, but ultimately the evil is Palpatine.
Yeah. Also, with the ultimate evil, you must have the ultimate hero, which is the
Link.
wielder of the Triforce of Courage, Link.
Yeet.
Link doesn't have a lot of backstory.
Nope.
Link is the...
He's a mute.
Yeah, well, not really.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
He is the
Might as
blank
well be.
slate for the character.
Until you get to Breath of the Wild.
Until you get to until you get to Wind Waker. Because Wind Waker Link has the most personality out of every single character. Or every single Link. Like, he is my favorite Link because of his expressions. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he is that, like I said, the blank slate for you to imprint what you
Which kind of started here. Mm-hmm. I won't say it was the first, but I think it's probably the one that really pioneered it to be a game mechanic and stuff. That's why Halo Master Chief is kind of a blank slate unless you read the books or play till Halo 4. Mm-hmm. Only Halo 4 makes him a character.
Breath of the Wild gives you dialogue options, which is pretty new.
Right. Well,
what Skyward Sword does
clearly
too.
you're meant to be a type. Like with Breath of the Wild, they steer you towards a character. Mm-hmm. It's not so much choosing your own adventure as much as it is continuing the story that's being given to you. Yeah.
And after much deliberation, there's other constants in the games. I forgot about that.
Impa.
there is Impa, who is the Sheikah warrior. The Sheikah were a tribe who were created by Hylia.
Right, and they protect her reincarnation.
Exactly. They protect Zelda, they protect the Triforce.
Therefore, she's passed down.
Yes, it is one of those generational names where Impa in, Skyward Sword is the first Impa.
Mm-hmm. And she already old.
Well, she's old.
She
at
old,
one point.
old. Huh?
Another constant in the game is time travel, moving pretty consistently back and forth through time. Where in...
You mean actively in the games or game to game?
Yes, both.
Okay. Well, I mean, yeah. I would say definitely in 3D Zelda. Like, once they went 3D, I think that was a mainstay.
Well, even in Link to the Past, you're moving from high roll to low roll. Like, you're going between dimensions there. Link to the Past is the third Zelda game, I think. Yeah, something like that. So, there's also the Master Sword, which was, again, created by Hylia, who put the spirit of a fairy that she created, named Fee, into it. She tells you when your battery's low.
It was the something sword, though, before it was the Master Sword.
Yes, it was the Great Fairy Sword, I think.
Right, and then, so, once he found out about
I could just look and see what it was.
When he went about the goings-on of, like, oh, you're gonna have to fight Demise, you're gonna need something stronger, he was sent on a mission to the different worlds. The Goddess Sword. He was sent to the other worlds, the different villages and such, to seek power pieces to turn it into the Master Sword.
Exactly.
So in Skyward Sword, you make the Master Sword, essentially.
And
which kind of has a King Arthur element, especially like towards Breath of the Wild, where it's like the mystified, like it exists out there and you can get it, but only when you're strong enough, kind of thing.
The Master Sword is one of the most interesting pieces of any Zelda game.
Because it's always the Master Sword.
Exactly.
Right?
It is constant in the fact that it is the Master Sword.
Yep.
That is the only one. It gets restored.
That's the only mainstay of every Link.
Exactly. It is the Master Sword. It is the green outfit.
It's the Anakin's lightsaber.
Exactly. And part of what makes the Master Sword so cool is just the mystification of it. Like,
well, like I said, it's almost treated a lot of the time, outside looking in for me, like King Arthur's sword. Like, it's like Excalibur in the sense of, like, that's what makes you the hero.
Exactly.
That, like, if you can get that, like, that, for a large part of a lot of it, it's less about, oh, you've got to beat the bad guy, you've got to beat the... Most of your time spent being able to get the sword, and then they're like, okay, now you can get the bad guy.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, even from a player standpoint, is you hear from Sahasrara. Like, there is a magical sword. It is the Sword of Sealing out there somewhere in the game. Like, you hear about it from a couple of different NPCs. And so when you finally get to find the Master Sword, like, you walk up the stairs in the Grove, and then you pull it out of the pedestal, there's such, like, a feeling of grandeur there.
Yeah.
Like,
because it's the only thing
Master Sword.
It can, because it's created by Hylia, it's the only thing that can work against other, like, created things of hers.
Yeah, I just realized we probably should be pronouncing it Hylia, because they're Hylians. But whatever.
I mean, certain things get bent but when you're talking about people versus places, but okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Well, so, there is something in the Zelda timeline, or in the Zelda games, that is also a constant, and that is kind of hard to understand. It is the Zelda timeline.
Yay!
Which we have finally gotten to.
Yay!
30 minutes in. So, the reason the Zelda timeline is so hard to understand is because at a certain point in the games, it splits off into 3.
I like this part about the timeline.
It is very good. That is because there are 3 different outcomes to one game.
I like what if optionals like that, in terms of what if it didn't go that way? What if they chose this instead? Like, I like the idea of following up on those kinds of things, and that's what happens. Although arguably as a retcon for how come that one doesn't agree with that one,
and
still works.
I'll be honest with you. Breath of the Wild is not on this timeline. Like, it's...
I say it is.
It is.
We talked about this recently, where I actually think... So, there's a straight line through many of the games until you get to Majora's Mask.
We're gonna get there.
Ocarina of Time.
We're gonna get there.
Well, hang on. Which one is it?
It's Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time. Depending on how that one goes, you go into different scenarios. I say that those scenarios branch off until the next fixed point that cannot be moved regardless of timeline. Because I think that the Link you play in Breath of the Wild could be any of them.
Yeah.
Any of them.
Part of what makes it interesting.
That's the idea. So they're like re-merging the timelines, especially since now Breath of the Wild 2 promises to reintroduce things that are like, wait, we believed Breath of the Wild fell here. How can this happen? It can only happen if this is all the timelines. So I
Good
say
points.
it's on. I think it's on there.
All good points.
Breath of the Wild is at the bottom.
Okay. That is one of many theories. I'll get to those theories of where else it falls. So, at the beginning of the timeline, as I said, is the creation of Hyrule and the world, the creation of land and sky. And then...
Which doesn't happen in a game, right?
No. It is shown in the first cutscene of Skyward Sword.
Yep.
First in the timeline is Skyward Sword, the ancient battle and reincarnation of the goddess Hylia.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that is the return to the surface. This is all under the Sky Era. And then is an era of chaos,
Mm-hmm.
in which the Sacred Realm, which is the realm of the goddesses, is sealed. And then is the establishment of Hyrule Kingdom. So basically, they started a civilization on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
where they built a castle and a castle town, and, they put guards to keep children away unless they have,
Right.
A letter to get in for some reason. And then second in the timeline is Minish Cap,
Mm-hmm.
which is
That's
the
the one where
shrinky
he
one.
shrinks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I knew that one.
And then the Rise of the Evil Vati is what was in there. Another envoy of Ganon. And then after that is the game Four Swords. These are both like...
I like this one.
I know you do. These are both like... I forget which console they were on. Aren't they?
They're old school.
They are.
And they're also a time when gaming was gimmicky.
It was very gimmicky. This is like the era of game mechanic.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy
That's
is
the
here.
whole point of Four Swords, is that you can split yourself into multiple links to be able to accomplish what's before you, essentially. So this is the...
Yeah.
This is the, all right, do a thing, then split, then do a thing, then split, and then put it all together, and ta-da!
Yeah.
You found some crap.
And then is the era of the Hero of Time.
So this is where we get to the nitty-gritty
Exactly.
of the lore.
And this is where Ocarina of Time happened.
Mm-hmm.
You have Princess Zelda, who is established to be, the Princess of Hyrule. You have Link, who is established to be, a child of the Kokiri.
Mm-hmm.
He was abandoned by his mother. Well, she died. She didn't abandon him.
Well, I mean, technically it's the same thing.
She left him in the care of the Great Deku Tree and the Kokiri. This was, yeah.
Tree!
I know.
Look after my baby tree!
I know. Trust me, I don't get it either.
I mean, technically it is pretty much an int, but at least ints can walk around and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally
just
a tree with a face.
It's a tree with a face. Like...
By the way, if you go to the top of the tree with a face in Breath of the Wild, that's where the sword is.
It is.
I
No,
love that.
it's at
Yeah,
the
it is.
base.
Is it at the base?
It's at the base.
What's at the top? Do you just go to the top for funsies?
Yeah, at the top is
Oh no,
a
you
challenge.
find the
As a
old guy
Korok.
that gives you special stuff if you do things. Gotcha.
So
It would have
yeah,
been cooler if it was the sword.
it wasn't just the tree. There were the Kokiri.
What's the one where the tree dies? That's Majora's Mask.
No.
No?
That's Ocarina.
That's Ocarina?
That's
Oh yeah,
Ocarina.
because it dies.
It dies.
It's like, here's this thing. Eh.
But here's the thing. It plants a new seed and a new Deku Tree sprouts, which is
Sure.
why the Deku Tree is still alive in other games. And also in this game, this is Gerudo Ganon. This is the reincarnation of Demise after the unsealing of the Sacred Realm, of the Dark Realm, whatever.
Which is what you do in the first game, in Skyward
Exactly.
Sword.
And you actually see Demise, or Ganondorf become Demon King Ganon. At the very end, his full power is unlocked. and he becomes his pig form,
Mm-hmm.
which is pretty dope if you've never played that boss fight.
Right, and so it's the only reason that explains the scenario for which he stays that way in other in other games, but not other games.
Yeah, and this is where the timeline splits.
Yes.
Right after this.
Depending on what you do
Exactly.
in Ocarina of Time.
So, there are 3 scenarios. Number 1 is...
We get some nachos.
No. Number 1 is the hero is defeated.
Yep.
Link dies while...
I love this one.
Yeah. He dies while fighting Ganon. The Ganon is sealed, but not forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, future generations go on without Link. That Link.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go through that timeline real quick.
Well, supposedly.
Supposedly.
The failed hero exists somewhere.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. Anyway.
Yeah. So, the hero is defeated. The decline of Hyrule and the last hero.
Yeet.
This is important. So, in this timeline, there is the imprisoning war, which is, you know, Ganon is imprisoned. He gets unimprisoned.
Mm-hmm.
First, in that timeline, I was incorrect, is Link to the Past.
Mm-hmm.
In this is the resurrection of Ganondorf. And then after that is Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons. I haven't personally played those games.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few Zelda games that I have not played. I am not the end-all be-all to the series.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That does not disqualify you.
And then after that is one of our favorites, Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Except
It's all a dream.
the entirety of Link's Awakening exists in a dream.
But doesn't it happen? It's supposedly alongside Wind Waker, isn't it?
No.
Or what's the one at the sea? Is that Wind Waker?
Yes, that is Wind Waker.
Okay.
The thing
I thought
is,
it happens at sea.
No. All of this is happening inside the dream of the Windfish, which is just the giant bird. So he has the choice of destroying the world that he has come to love and the girl that he's come to love.
Marin?
Marin.
Yeah.
Who he meets in Ocarina of Time, which makes sense. Because, like, he would have some of the memories of the
in Link's
old.
Awakening, it's not even Link.
It is Link. Because at the very end, he has the choice of either waking up the Windfish and destroying that world, or leaving the Windfish to sleep.
The trouble in that world is caused by...
Yeah, the fact that it's a dream.
Right.
Yeah, it's very sad.
Mm.
And around this time, in the Imprisoning War, the Hylians go to war with the Zora, which makes them the bad guys.
The fish.
In this
Zora
timeline.
or fish?
The Zora are the fish.
It doesn't sound like fish. I say this all the time. Zora sounds like a bird species. Like, the name Zora sounds like birds.
I don't know, man.
I don't know what it is, but anyway.
But yeah.
I just have to say real quick, yeah, my favorite Link game is Link's Awakening. It's a great game.
It is a lot of
recently got an update for the Switch in terms of graphics and all that good stuff.
It's so cute.
It's a beautiful game. It's really fun and rewarding. It's the perfect amount of challenge. Play it, please. Like, if I can make one recommendation off of the long list of Zelda games, please play Link's Awakening. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And then in the era of decline, you have The Legend of Zelda, the first game released in 1986.
So to recap, hero fails, what games happen?
Link to the Past, Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, Link's Awakening, Legend of Zelda, and then the sequel to the original Legend of Zelda, The Adventures of Link.
Gotcha.
And that is the last hero in that timeline.
Right.
There are no more reincarnations of Link in that timeline. Because Ganon is finally imprisoned. They don't need any more heroes.
Right.
But...
Until 100 years later. When
Yeah.
dehydrated Ganon comes on.
And going back to the top, going back to Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, so we're back in Ocarina of Time, reset.
Yeah. They're
now...
in Triumphant. Link beats Ganon. It's great. It's all dope. Yeah. So, there are 2 options for Link. Either he can stay as an adult, basically live through his... In Ocarina of Time, if you've never played it, there is a mechanic where you go backwards and forwards in time.
Yeah, it's like 10 years?
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years.
So he can live as adult Link, or he can live as child Link. And you do different things depending on the time.
So the explanation basically is when Ganon shows up, Link's a kid, and basically you can either live the 7 years or jump ahead.
Exactly.
And it's really interesting because you jump ahead and realize, dang, everything went to crap. So, like, there's 7 years where Ganon just dominates.
Yeah.
He rules.
And you got to help out Dampy dig those graves.
Right. So the whole objective though is that, like, to really stop him, you have to be adult Link.
Yeah.
But you can stay that way or go back. So that's I just wanted to explain why that's a thing.
Yeah, Zelda can either grant you the ability to go back in time and live as a child.
Yeah, it doesn't undo anything, but it just because technically the whole time you were a kid.
Yeah.
Like, even when you advance 7 years, you're still the same Link. You're just, your body's physically 7 years older. So you could either accept losing 7 years, which isn't that bad, actually.
Yeah.
Or go back if you're selfish and vain.
Yeah. And this creates the split of the child era and the adult era. The child era is what we're going to go through first. In the child era, the secret realm is protected. It remains closed. So Ganon can't get to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this creates the Twilight Realm and the Legacy of the Hero, which is one of the best timelines.
Because this has Toilet Princess, right?
Yes, this has Toilet Princess. But first,
I love that game.
Is Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
Which one could argue is another dream.
Well, my thing is, some people have that theory. Matt Pat's the biggest perpetuator of that.
He thinks that Link's
he's the
dead.
biggest voice. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like either purgatory or dream or whatever. I think it really happened. It's just sucky that you just finished this one big calamity. Oh, now the moon's crashing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is it's not even his Hyrule. Mm-hmm. He goes through the Dark Forest, and then he comes out on the other side in a different dimension. Mm-hmm. And he meets Skull Kid, who is basically like,
He's Loki of this world, essentially.
Basically.
He's like just mischief incarnate.
And here's the thing, is that he's not the only Skull Kid. We discovered this while reading through Hyrule Storia.
He's just the one that gets lucky enough to get this power.
Exactly. He's the one that finds Majora's Mask, which is the mask of an all-powerful being who was friends with the moon.
Loki's mask.
Basically.
This is the mask. This is Jim
mask.
Carrey.
Oh man, I wouldn't be surprised if it was based off the mask.
I'm telling you, dog. It's kind of similar. Yeah. It's funny.
But,
anyway, so like he gets this deity's mask and basically wants to destroy everything because he was treated poorly.
He was left by his friends.
Well, I was gonna say, like he has legitimate reasons. So he's a dead kid because he got left in the woods and he's angry, and this is what he chooses to do with it.
Exactly. The Lost Forest is a place that you can go in both games, where it's one of the locations right outside of the Korok Forest or the Kokiri Forest that you actually see a Skull Kid in Ocarina of Time. Yes, follow the candles in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, because the whole thing is, again, so it can either be purgatory, because going through the forest, he fell and died. Yeah. It can either be a dream, he hit his head and dreamt it all, and then wakes up in the end as if, because when the game's over...
you leaving.
Right, it ends with you leaving, but then, like you wake up to leave, like, it's like, oh... Okay, well, I guess that's done. Going about my business. So it's up for interpretation. I choose to believe it happened because I hate dream theories. It's the worst cop out. It was all a dream, and I say that having just said that Link's Awakening, the dream game, is my favorite. But the thing is, it still technically happens in Link's Awakening. It's still real.
That's why it's called Link's Awakening.
Right. So it's still real. To say it's all a dream is to say it's really not anything. What's the point? It's all fake. I don't like that. Yeah. Don't like it one bit. Also, the moon's scary in this game.
The moon is scary. It's very scary. Yeah, it's spookums.
So, Majora's Mask happens, and then where do we go?
The Demon King and the Demon Thief, Ganondorf, is executed.
Wait, Majora's Mask is the one with the dead hero?
No.
No, Toilet Princess is. Gotcha.
Yes.
Yes.
So... I'm going to get to that.
Gotcha.
So, Twilight Princess, not Toilet Princess.
Okay.
We're saying it for
I
goof.
say it out of reflex. I'm sorry.
I know.
We don't mean it's bad. I love that game.
It's my favorite game in this entire franchise.
Oh, that's right. You say that.
I say that constantly. Like, I like love it a lot. This game.
I don't like certain aspects. Like, I don't like Midna.
You don't like Midna?
Yeah, I don't like Midna.
Why don't you like Midna?
I don't know. She's annoying, and I don't feel like they do enough in the end to redeem her.
I
like I like the story, but I just don't feel like... I feel like in the end it's forced of, oh, she was tragic all along.
Yeah, I'm not going to touch too much on this game's lore because I'm going to talk about it. Trust me.
Yeah.
I'm going to...
Because we're following this up with favorite games.
Yeah,
so.
we are. And...
Apparently Boba has something to say.
So basically, you know, the Twilight Realm, or the Sacred Realm becomes the Twilight Realm. And the Twilight Realm invades our world. Under the usurper king Zant. I almost said Gant. It's not Gant.
Yeah, so in this one there's no Ganon, but like there's
Zant. Zant.
Right, and he's trying to bring forth Ganon with the power of the Twilight. Which is where Midna comes from.
Yeah. And we're going to explain all that. Don't worry if this sounds silly.
Right. Well, it's just a matter of you're still fighting the dark forces just in a different form in this one.
Yeah.
Also, you can turn into a puppy.
You can turn into a very good boy.
If you again, this goes into mechanic games. These are the games that are driven by, hey, what if Link could do this one thing?
Yeah. And this game was very, you know, promised by Nintendo. They'd been promising a dark Zelda game for years and years and years. I'll get to what we got instead in a minute. And at the very end of this timeline is Four Swords Adventures, which includes the reincarnation of Ganondorf and the resurrection of the evil Vati, who was in Four Swords.
So it just connects the two Four Swords.
Basically. Okay, so let's jump over to the adult era, where Link decides to stay as an adult. He gets married, he has a family, he pays taxes.
Marries Marin, because she's the best girl.
Marin is the best
Much better than Zelda.
But...
she's a redhead, so she's guaranteed to be better.
Thank you.
I love in Link's Awakening, I'm sorry I have to say, I love in Link's Awakening where it's like, you got a Marin.
Yes.
You can
lift
acquire Marin. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's how you get a wife, is you acquire them.
Exactly.
Through work and time travel. So, unfortunately, the good times don't last.
Nope.
We are in the Hero of Winds and a New World. So, Ganondorf is resurrected.
That happens every time.
That happens almost every time.
Yep. Because what's a Link without a Ganon?
So, Hyrule is sealed off from the other realms. Basically, they were like, you know what? You guys have issues. You're going to stay over here.
Pretty much. I mean, they keep repeating the same stuff, so I get it.
And not only that, but the world is flooded. Which is where...
Wind Waker.
Yeah.
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 Boat Boy.
Wind Waker happens. And
the most ridiculous redesign the game's ever got.
This is the game that we got instead of Twilight Princess.
Yeah, this was the cutesy...
people were so
fun,
upset.
wonderful.
Like, okay, I remember in, 2002 is when this game came out.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So... this was in the early days of conferences for games.
Right.
What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, that just reminds me, one thing I do really praise, especially Legend of Zelda games, but Nintendo for, is being so beyond their measure. You can go back to these games and be like, oh, this was great for 2008. And it's like, no, dude, this was...
It's 2002.
Yeah, like, I'm constantly impressed with when they were able to accomplish what they did with these games and everything. And that's just... That's what keeps Nintendo on top of a lot of things, is because they've just got that Nintendo clout, and they use it well sometimes and everything.
Yeah.
And so I have to praise the good they're able to do with some of these games, man. Like, some of these games come out looking very, very nice and very good, and... yeah, it's just worth appreciating.
Oh, yeah.
I
absolutely.
Finding out that is much older than I thought it was just reminded me at that point.
And that's the thing, is this was, in the very, very early days of conferences for video games. This was like, I think it was an electronics conference. They showed a trailer for a Zelda game that was coming out for the GameCube. And it was dark, and it was gritty, and people were so excited about that. And then Wind Waker came out.
Yeah, it's like getting promised The Dark Knight and then getting Batman Forever instead.
Having friends and having fun. I enjoy Batman Forever,
We'll talk
honestly.
about Schumacher eventually.
We will indeed. But basically, people were upset when Wind Waker came out.
Fair.
And
only because they were promised something else.
Exactly. I
here's my
understand
thing.
that completely.
When like, that's legitimate. It's legitimate. Now, if you get what was promised and you just don't like what was promised, then you're elitist, then you need to go suck your thumb in the corner and apologize.
Exactly. And Twilight Princess came out in 2006, so it was only 4 years later. So they rushed to get Twilight Princess out.
And you got a really great game for that.
Though. Oh yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, for a game that was, crunch time, they did a fantastic job on Twilight Princess. Originally, the design of Link in Wind Waker was going to be closer to Twilight Princess, but then they put him in the environment and they were like...
Which is arguably, like, my favorite design.
Oh, yeah.
I will say of like, peak Hero Link. Because Breath of the Wild has quite the redesign itself.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, of traditional green, like, wearing Link, like, I feel like that does best. And I think it benefits from being adult Link as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's like... You okay?
Oh, gosh, that spooked me.
Boba had something to say.
Yeah.
It's like Nightwing levels of, wow, big boy. Like, you grew up.
Yeah. Like, he is an adult with a house working on a farm in Twilight Princess.
Oh, yeah.
But in Wind Waker, he's a little boy who lives with his grandma.
Yep.
And his little sister.
And he sailed the seas.
And this is one of the first mentions of Link having a family. Like, he has a little sister. He has a grandma. Like, he lives in a town that loves him.
Well, yeah, they make him more than just orphan kid of destiny.
Yeah, which is different for the character of Link. It's one of those things, like, obviously Link is a family name. He has, generations within him. You checking out your
I was
curls?
distracted by my hair for a second.
I am too. I like your hair. So basically, this is a turning point in the series for this timeline. The world is flooded, and so people have to find other modes of transportation. Yeah,
because this is an outbreak of the aftermath, right, of the Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
In this one, the results of, like, every timeline has the same thing. Like, okay, regardless of what happened, here's the consequence.
Yeah.
Almost. And so in this one, it's Noah floods, basically.
Yeah, basically. And, Zelda is still a princess. Her father is still a king. We're gonna get to it when we talk about favorite games, because this is another one of my favorite games. Like, I'm gonna spend most of that episode talking about the GameCube, honestly. Because it's one of my favorite Nintendo consoles. I think a lot was done right.
I took one apart one day.
Yeah? What'd you do with it?
It was just to see how it worked, like, just to see how parts...
Did you find the magic?
No.
Would you tell me?
When I was, like, obsessed with tech and understanding it, I had, like, this friend of the family's father figure who, like, taught me computers and helped me take things apart. He helped me, like, he was the guy that taught me how to build rockets. And, like, it was just... He was the one that was cool.
Yeah.
And everything. And so I specifically remember that. He would just find old stuff at pawn shops. And that was the thing, is just, let's take it apart and see how it works and whatnot. Anyway.
My orthodontist's office, when I had braces, thankfully never again, there were Nintendo consoles in the waiting room. Like, there was... Yeah, right? There was a little waiting room with these tooth-shaped couches, and you could sit on the little couches, and you could play, like, GameCube. You could play Nintendo. Like, you had a Nintendo 64.
Oh, that is such a good idea to make that awesome. I hate the dentist.
Right? I am old enough to remember when there was N64s in McDonald's.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
We're old.
I played my first Xbox in the hospital. They had it in the children's ward where I was, and I was there for so long that eventually it was just like, I want to try this, and I played Sonic X.
I played Sonic Unleashed on a crappy Xbox in a doctor's office.
Yeah, so that was what got me into Sonic, actually.
See, look, this is what comes from being sickly children.
Right.
Is you grow into nerds.
Put game consoles in your doctor's offices.
Yeah.
You'll get amazing people like us in the result. Anyway, so Wind Waker.
So Wind Waker is...
I feel like we've said enough about Wind Waker.
I think so. And we're going to talk more about it in the next episode. In these, like, right after Wind Waker is...
This is one of the only, like, direct sequels.
One of them.
Until...
Oh, I completely forgot. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. So, way back in the Heroes Defeated timeline, there's the Link to the Past, there's Link's Awakening. There is also a Link Between Worlds, which is a direct sequel from Link to the Past. Because you go from high roll to low roll in that game too. Do you remember that one?
Is that the one where you can walk on walls?
That's the one where you can go through paintings, yes.
Yeah, okay.
That is another fantastic DS game.
Mm-hmm.
Another DS game, which I personally have not played, is Phantom Hourglass, which is a direct sequel from Wind Waker. Basically, you're going around on a boat. There's time skipping.
I mean, it's the same. It's
there's pirates.
Same environment.
Yeah.
Like giving you new scenarios, basically.
And then in that time, a new continent is discovered.
Pensacola.
Pensacola.
Or whatever this was supposedly called before it.
I don't remember.
Became the 7 continents.
Like, there's Hyrule, there's Termina, there's so many different...
Or Pentakatek. Makuta. Matanui. There we go. I'm sorry.
I am Moana of Motunui.
Right.
You will board my boat and take the heart back to Te
What's
Fiti.
sad is that that's a real place, and those are real people that sued a very real Lego.
Yeah.
For the use of their word and heritage and everything. Yep. Like, they got money for that because they were just writing stories. They took inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I love Bionicle. We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So...
New continent.
New continent, a new Hyrule kingdom is founded. And in that continent, they build what else but a railroad. So, this is a game that I have played. So, Spirit Tracks.
Oh, I actually haven't heard of this one.
It's a weird game. Let me tell you a little bit about Spirit Tracks, since we have a little bit of time left. A little bit. So, Spirit Tracks is a game where you ride around on a railroad. You are Link. Zelda has her spirit ripped from her body.
Cool.
And is following you around as a ghost.
Nice.
Your entire...
Ghost girlfriend.
Yeah. Your entire thing in the game is, I need to get Zelda back in her body. But I also need to pass the conductor's exam. Are
you serious?
Yes.
So in this one, the hero of time
wants to be a conductor.
That's adorable.
It is adorable, isn't it? And it's Wind Waker Link.
Link, you've got to get me to my body, Link.
And Link. The coolest part of the game is when you're, in dungeons, Zelda can possess Stalfos. So the big suits of armor.
Yeah. That's the mechanic of that one.
That is the mechanic.
The ghosty ghost.
That is the gimmick.
They couldn't just give him a ghost. They had to make it Zelda.
And the 7 sages of Hyrule ride around on little go-karts. I'm going to show you some of the gameplay footage of this game in a minute. And you are going to be pleasantly surprised.
This sounds ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
But
it's incredibly...
It might be fun. I think the ridiculous ones are the fun ones.
The ridiculous ones are relegated to the unpopular consoles.
When it takes it so seriously, that's when you get Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, this was DS Zelda. Which, there's nothing wrong with DS Zelda. I love DS Zelda. Just like I love GameCube Zelda. And Wii Zelda, as many faults as it has. Zelda
it has
is good
faults
Zelda.
Because of the Wii, though.
Exactly. If you are relegated to a particular console, there's bound to be issues with, that console. That's why I'm such a big proponent of, not reimagining, but re-releasing games on new consoles. I was pumped as heck when the 35th anniversary of Mario was announced that they were going to be doing Mario All-Stars. Because I saw my favorite Mario game being re-released on a new console that I would get to play, and not on a janky freaking GameCube controller.
Right. Now on a janky Switch controller.
I was so upset. There's a particular part in Mario Sunshine where...
Which is the game you're talking about.
Yes, I didn't mention that. For a while there, Nintendo was like, I want to animate water. And so they did. They made beautiful water in Wind Waker.
Built entire games around it.
And in Mario Sunshine. There's a little bit of water there's water physics in Twilight Princess. But, Nintendo was like, let's go to the beach. Come on, guys. Let's go. But they made beautiful water for Legend of Zelda and the Mario. But basically, there's an entire section of the game where you're riding on the back of a giant moving bird made of sand. You remember the part that I was getting so upset about when I was playing it the other night? It's that, but worse. It's worse than the pachinko part of the game as well.
Mm.
It made me so angry the first time I played it. I'm honestly kind of waiting to play that part.
Yeah.
Because, like, I love that game so
it.
much. But at the same time...
That's hard.
I get so angry at that game.
I get you.
But, yeah, that is the end of the Zelda timeline.
Really? That's it?
As of so far.
Well,
as of right now.
To me, it ends... Well, so far it comes to Breath of the Wild. Because, again, I believe that all the timelines converge.
That would make sense. There is dialogue in the game that would support that.
Well, yeah, they were basically trying to make it ambiguous, and by making it ambiguous, they're essentially merging the timelines.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're a fan of Doctor Who at all, then you know, like, he talks about, like, there's fixed points. There's certain things you cannot change, which is kind of a plot thing of why, we can go, visit Mona Lisa, but we all can't go save your dad from dying.
Yeah.
Like, certain things cannot be changed. And so Breath of the Wild is like a pin in the board of like, eventually everything's going to go here. What happens in between here and the last pin, which is Ocarina of Time, that's up to you and how the game goes. But regardless, we're going to get here.
Yeah.
And it's getting a sequel now soon that's going to follow that up. And from what we've seen of the trailers and everything, it's further reinforcing, hey... We don't know where this is happening, so we're gonna just say all of it.
And also, there are non-canon games, like
plenty.
Link's crossbow training.
You don't have to make them fit. Do not make yourself...
Brian David Gilbert.
Yeah, there's certain games that just don't work. Just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
They're just fun. Just play them for fun.
Yeah, and you reminded me of something that has not anything to do with Zelda. So, you remember the episode of Doctor Who where they go visit Van Gogh? Mm-hmm. There's actually kind of a real-world explanation for why he still dies at the end.
Why?
There were new clues discovered, like through his diaries and through, writings from the time. He didn't kill himself. Someone else killed him.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's a theory as of right now.
Oh, okay. Like,
yeah. We don't know because...
It could have been just his mental breakdown. Like, it could be a creation of his mentality.
We're going to watch the BuzzFeed Unsolved episode after this.
I'm very interested because
it's incredibly
that's
interesting.
quite a development.
That is my favorite episode of Doctor Who.
So that's stuff that's still...
It's a fixed point in time.
Yeah, technically it becomes a fixed point because even by seemingly making a difference, but you made a difference in the person, but if that person isn't the one that did it, it doesn't really change anything.
Exactly.
It's really interesting.
Okay, that's way off topic, but like that's a very interesting.
Well, it's a theory of fixed time.
Yeah.
So I believe that you can put Breath of the Wild at all of those. So hopefully you are more knowledgeable about Legend of Zelda. Maybe you even learned that there's more to it than you thought there were. It's a big world of lore.
It's a big book.
I have my stuff with it. Next week we are talking more opinions. We're going to talk about 2 of your favorite games, 1 of my favorite games, and also just chit-chatting a little bit more, because this was a lot of info, and so next week...
This was an info dump.
Yeah, next week we're going to talk a little bit more, so I'll save it for there, but no matter how you might feel, it's definitely a big world of lore, for sure. It's very interesting a lot of the time, and it's also just an interesting peek into a game company deciding to try and make it all make sense. Nintendo has cornerstones
of its technology. You could say, Mario is the made one. He has had the most iterations out of every single character of Nintendo.
He's the Nintendo character.
He is the mascot of Nintendo.
Right.
He was there at the very beginning with Donkey Kong. And, he has had the most changes of his character style, game mechanics. Like, there are constants of his character, but in essence he has changed so many times with the technology.
Sure.
And that is incredible. Like, I love seeing stuff like that. And I'd say that Zelda is another one of the franchise where, every new thing that comes out, you can count on the fact there's going to be a Zelda game.
Sure.
There's going to be a Mario game, there's going to be a Zelda game.
Yep.
There's going to be another Donkey Kong Country.
Right. So yeah, so here's your peek into The Legend of Zelda.
Thank you for listening to me ramble.
If you've never played a game, if you have the option, I highly recommend it. Obviously, if you don't have a Nintendo console, it's kind of hard. But maybe check it out. Maybe watch some gameplay. We love Game Grumps. Can recommend it. Do be over 18 before you watch that, because you have to choose to subjugate yourself to jokes and immaturity.
There are some goofs, there's some language.
Yeah. So definitely be of the age to make a choice to put that in your ears and everything.
Yeah.
But overall, they also just take a lot of time to just talk and love the games and everything. Like,
and also,
it's a lot.
You'll start to get a lot of our jokes if you watch Game Grumps.
Yeah, lots of inside jokes there. So, so thank you for listening. Thank you for stopping by and checking it out. Go play a Leg of Zeg game.
The Leg of Zeg.
Or play some kind of game. We'll be back next week, like I said, to talk more. Got Rebels coming up, all that good stuff. Thank you to our patrons who pay for this. Jim, Doug, Rebecca, you guys are awesome, if not questionable. But thank you so much. You can check out the links in our link tree in the description, wherever this episode is being digested.
Links in the description.
Yep, links. Haha, haha. No Zeldas, though, only links. But check it out. Check out our Patreon page. See what it's worth to pay for this. It's not worth a lot, but we'd love you if you did it. We'd also love if you like, subscribe, share, all that generic blabbity blab.
Pick up a copy of Hyrule Historia. You're not going to regret it.
There you go. GameInfinite.net. Check it out. Because we're talking about games, gotta plug it. Jesse's a cool guy. He loves games. He loves talking about games. And so if you're more interested in games, cosplay, art, all that good stuff about all the favorites, check him out. GameInfinite.net. You can also subscribe on his social medias and everything. But everything's at GameInfinite.net. Likewise, Red5Network.com. Full of awesome podcasts talking about all kinds of stuff. Smart people, good people, funny people.
And I promise we're going to do Super Mario Brothers at some point.
Heck yeah, a lot of them were hopeful. Yeah. So, hopefully this didn't disappoint, if not being different than what you expected. But, we love talking about other things than Star Wars. It's been really fun, so hopefully you're enjoying it as well. And we'll see you next time.
Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.